even though they had long since been cured. Nowadays, there are just 4
leprosy.
people
Somehow
living
there's a
in the
connection.
former
I've always heard
leprosarium,
something, just
all
never knew
aged
what it
between
was.
80 and 90, as they arrived in the village as children and have never known any other life. Although families could visit patients, they were housed in separate quarters and were only allowed to communicate through a wire screen. By the way, they're now going to build a memorial at this site to honor all those who died. But why is the disease considered so dangerous? As I mentioned, it progresses slowly, and symptoms don't show up until 3 to 7 years after getting infected. It's hard to detect if something's wrong in the early stages. In fact, in the beginning, leprosy doesn't seem frightening at all. It just looks like blemishes on the skin that many people tend to overlook. While there's an affordable cure for leprosy, it's primarily a problem in impoverished countries where getting medications and protein sources can be tricky. So, some people start eating armadillos, the animals that carry leprosy. Studies conducted in the Gulf states revealed that up to 20% of armadillos were found to be carrying leprosy. In Brazil, a whopping 62% of armadillos killed by hunters showed symptoms of leprosy, a rate 3 times higher than that observed in Texas and Louisiana. No wonder that people who come into contact with armadillos usually end up getting leprosy. But what's really concerning is that those who eat these animals increase their risk of getting the disease by almost 2-fold. Sometimes you don't even have to eat or touch an armadillo. In some cases, people get infected simply by inhaling fecal spores.
I wonder how that could happen.
And if you're really unlucky, you can get sick just by standing in the wrong place. In 2014, leprosy was found in a man who had never left Canada or the United States, had no contact with sick people, never employed foreign workers, and most importantly, had never come into contact with a live or deceased armadillo, or sniffed their waste. It was almost impossible for him to have caught the disease. It took the doctors an unexpectedly long time to pin down the right diagnosis because leprosy wasn't even considered a possibility. No tests were conducted until the truth came to light, and if I were in their shoes, I'd be pretty shocked. Eventually, they concluded that leprosy transmission was indirect and very much so. A few years earlier, a man visited Florida where armadillos roam, and it seems he stood in the place where the infected armadillo had recently run through, or maybe he touched an object or soil the armadillo had touched. And that's it. That was all it took. By the way, leprosy can survive in soil, and the man worked as a landscaper. Who knew it was such a dangerous profession? The good news is armadillos, along with humans, are the sole carriers of leprosy. They're the only ones that can transmit it to us. But why armadillos? With so many different creatures on Earth, some of them pretty close to us, you'd think a chimpanzee might be the one to carry it.